Okay, thank you. Hello, everybody. I'm sure that today we will discover together legume dreams that serve as a driver of plant-based food in Europe. But before that, at the beginning, I would like to show meaning of climate crisis. The fact is that we are losing nature due to unsustainable human activities, and global population of wild species has fallen by 60% over the last 40 years. From perspective of planet and the nature, 40 years is short period, but 60% is huge loss. Why it is important? Because more than 75% of global food crop types rely on animal pollination, mainly insects and birds. It is worrying that global crop yield of rice, maize, and wheat are projected to decrease between 3 and 10% per degree of warming. It is really worrying thing and facts. Cultivation and consumption of legumes contribute to climate change mitigation, sustainable agriculture, and environment preservation. Considering that, today we will discuss all aspects of legumes' role in survival of planet and nature. Our guest speakers are Vuk Đorđević, breeder from Institute of Field and Vegetable Crops, Novi, and Marjana Vasiljević, researcher in the field of cultivation practices, also from Institute of Field and Vegetable Crops from Novi. Mr. Now, please. I will tell you when we change slide. Sorry. Mr. Lavdosh Ferruni will moderate your discussion of audience regarding this topic with special guest Adam Alexander. Please, next. I would like to start with role in improving soil health by improving soil fertility through process of adding nitrogen into soil. I will later on explain this process. And also legume ability to transform unavailable soil phosphate in usable form for plants, and also legumes contribute improvement of soil organic matter by process of carbon sequestration. This process is very important because helps to mitigate climate change by removing carbon dioxide from atmosphere and storing it in the soil, reducing greenhouse gas emission. This is very important role of legumes regarding climate crisis. Also, improvement of soil structure is related to very interesting process. Protein glomalin along the root of legumes serves as a glue that binds soil, providing soil stability, reducing crusting, and prevents soil erosion. These processes ensuring soil conservation and soil biological diversity preservation. Also, inclusion of legumes in crop rotations increases diversity of plant species and supporting diverse communities of insects, birds, and other wildlife that rely on these plants regarding food and habitat. Interesting thing and fact that is a flower of legumes attract pollinators and contributing to pollination services, foraging habitat for pollinators, flowering at different times during growing season, and providing diversity of pollen sources. Some legume species attract natural predators, providing natural pest control in agricultural systems, that reducing pesticide need for for chemical pesticides. Please, next slide. I mentioned this process, and biological nitrogen fixation deserves special attention, since legumes have unique ability to convert atmospheric nitrogen into ammonia, usable form for legumes, through symbiotic relationships with nitrogen-fixing bacteria in their roots nodules, and that process reducing need for synthetic fertilizer, nitrogen fertilizers. By fixing of nitrogen, legumes, I mentioned that improving soil health, increasing nutrient availability in soil for plants, and also promoting sustainable agriculture practices, benefiting non-legumes crops that are included in rotation systems. You can see that most legumes, grain legumes, can obtain between 50 and 80% of their total requirements for nitrogen. That is really unique ability for legumes. And total amount of fixed nitrogen ranges between 70 and 300 kilograms nitrogen per hectare. This is really benefits for not only for legumes, but also for non-legume crops. Now, I would like to invite Marjana to continue this important and interesting story about the role of legumes.
Thank you, Svetlana. Dear ladies and gentlemen, dear members of the Global Bean community, my name is Marjana Vasiljević, and I am research assistant at the Institute of Field and Vegetable Crops at the National Institute of the Republic of Serbia. Today, I will present you the topic cultivation practices in legumes toward climate resilient agriculture. Please note that I will speak shortly about the topic and to open the discussion about legumes in the context of crops diversification and resilience, then reduced pesticide use and pest management, also sustainable livelihoods and smallholder farming. Please, next slide. First, the topic that I will address is crop diversification and resilience, and also intercropping legumes into crop rotations, either in intercropping schemes. We offer diversification of agricultural landscape, and also we reduce the vulnerability to pests and diseases. And also legumes during the introduction into crop rotation are the alternative crop option that reduces the reliance on monocultural practices. In short, we can say that through introduction of legumes into crop rotation, we can enable ecosystem services, then also stability of production and sustainability. Please, next slide. What is the, let's say, a place of legumes in intercropping schemes? You can see on this slide, and on the left side, you can see one mixture of winter pea and oat that can be used for example, for feeding, but also as a mixture for green manure. And on the right side, you can see the common bean in a strip or row intercropping with corn that also can be used for human consumption and also for the feed. What I would like to address here is that there are plenty opportunities and benefits why to incorporate legumes into intercropping schemes. On first place, it can be seen on different levels. For example, on first place, to diversify the production. Also, this is a possibility to suppress the weeds, also to have the higher biomass production, and also if we are using this plant mixture for feeding, to have a balanced nutritional values of a feed. Please, next slide. Also, the next topic that I would like to address is, as Svetlana already mentioned, is reduced pesticide use and pest management, and what is the role of legumes in this context. We have natural resistance to certain pests and diseases. Also, we can directly and indirectly contribute to integrated pest management. Also, legumes can be a habitat for beneficial insects, and legumes also can be used as a trap crops. Please, next slide. Also, on this slide, you can see that we have here some perennial legumes, also used as a habitat for beneficial insects. Also, we can use for example, winter cover crops and legumes in this context. Also, it's important to mention that when we speak towards the weed suppression, we can use cover crops in the sense of physical barrier, and also as a mulching. There are plenty possibilities how we can use legumes for reducing the pesticide use and on the level of the pest management. Next slide, please. Also, when we speak about these legumes and the use for sustainable livelihoods and smallholder farming, I would like to address that legume crops can offer economic opportunities for small-scale farmers by offer and providing the marketable products. Also, legumes are suitable for smallholder farming system due to their adaptability, low input requirements, and also potential income from the production diversification. Also on this slide, you can see that I presented the rotations with legumes and rotations without legumes. This was a study that was done, and one part of the study was, let's say, explaining what will happen if we include, for example, soybean and legumes into crop rotations, and there are some positive economic implications. We got the information on the higher standard gross margin calculation, higher, let's say, protein yield per hectare, and lower energy use. Generally, we can say that by adopting the legume cultivation practices such as crop rotation involving legumes, intercropping schemes, and other agroecological approaches, farmers directly can contribute to the climate change and mitigation and adaptation efforts. Next slide, please. Also, I would like to thank you very much for this, for your attention, and I would like to mention that all of these topics that I addressed today are the big field itself, and I hope that I shared these main points. What is the place and the role of legumes on productional level, especially in the light of climate change, and what are the practices that we would like to share. Thank you.
Thank you, Marjana. You really presented huge potential of legumes. But could you please show us a successful example from practice? Nothing without practice and successful story. This is the best example and the best way to show really role of legumes.
Thank you, Svetlana, for this great and important question. We would like to address that all the next slide, please. That all of these experiments and what we are doing on the research level goes directly to the farmers. And the one organic farm in Serbia, Global Seed, is one really good example because they have production on over 2,000 hectares in organic status. And they have, of course, involvement of legumes, use of cover crops and intercropping schemes. And when we ask them why are the legumes important for their fields, they told us directly that they invest in long-term health and resilience of their soil. And also legumes offer marketable products that, of course, meet the consumer requirements. In one hand, we have soil balanced on the level of nutritional level and use of low input use, and on another side, we have products that consumer are willing to buy. Thank you.
Thank you, Marjana. That confirms that I told and mentioned in introduction. The practice is the best way to show topic and to show legumes role, and to give example how we can contribute to climate crisis, adopting legumes. But now let's moving to the second important role of legumes. This is breeding and genetics. Vuk, floor is yours.
Thank you, Svetlana, very much. Hello, everyone. My name is Vuk Đorđević. I'm coming from the same institute. So it is National Agricultural Institute from Serbia. I'm soybean breeder. I'm glad to see here 32 participants, especially some familiar faces. Please, next slide. So when we're talking about legumes, one part of whole story is breeding. So the seed or variety that we are going to produce. To getting such a valuable genetic material, you need to put a lot of effort and a lot of work to select the best one that is suitable for your growing condition. Another part, so it is a part of discovery of innovation. Another part is farmer adoption of that knowledge. So it is something that is usual practice in. Next slide. This is just an example of climate change, because today we are talking about climate crisis. This is not something new in scientific in science field of work. That is over 20 years we know about climate models, and they predict the direction of the changing of our weather. So this is just an example for Western and Central Europe. This is, for example, a Pannonian plain. And 15 years ago, we have discussed how we can approach. Okay, mathematical models told us that we will have a more heavy precipitation, that we have expansion of Mediterranean climate. So how to approach? At that moment, we do not have too much information, but we need to start to work. So we decide to use an ad hoc approach. So we try with the new traits, with the new agronomy practice. We have start with a usual practice to see are they still feasible. And luckily, we were right. Some of especially agricultural practice are not changed. For example, in soybean production, we can still use same plant density, for example, but for another thing like a sowing date, we need to shift. So that approach that we are using, we call it ad hoc approach. So just to see what is the best and what is the suitable for our environment. Next slide, please. So that is ad hoc approach. Another one that we also now, 15 years later, we are much smarter, of course, and much experience in fighting climate change. We are using a systematic approach regarding plant architecture from one side. From another side, we are dealing with the different physiological traits that are important for plants, for legumes, to survive a new environment. On this list, you can see just one a list of traits that are important for final goal of agricultural production, that is yield. And the biggest challenges are biotic and abiotic stress. A lot of insect migration, especially from the southern part of the Europe to the northern part, of new insects, and that insects make legume production even more difficult. So plant breeding needs to provide some answer to that threat. On the other hand, abiotic stress, such as drought tolerance, is a must-have trait in all new variety. Of course, we cannot put aside the quality of grains, so chemical composition, nutritional value, and all health promoting compounds are also important, and we cannot neglect it in the breeding process. Next slide, please. This is just an example of one of the limiting factor that we are facing, that is drought. As you can see on the middle picture, that is dropped small pods of soybean. So the there was a temperature over 40 degrees, and that is a physiological reaction for completely depodding of plants. So it is really a high stress intensity. On the right slide, you can see the soybean field. So all these sticks are actually soybean. The damage from the drought was 100%. So these are really terrible pictures, and that is our reality. Of course, you can use irrigation, other agronomy practice. That is one part of the story, but from the other side, we need also to have more resilient and to stresses. So next slide, please. This is also one important part when we are talking about especially physiological traits. It is root architecture. You can see these two different type of roots on the left picture. You can see that the right plant have a more robust and stronger root. Of course, that is a desirable trait. And one important thing is leaf architecture, and one trait that is very interesting for plants and for plant breeding, that is paraheliotropism. So the plant adjusting angle of leaf blade according to the sun angle. So that is a water preserving trait, and we are trying to introduce in all new varieties these two traits. So from one side, more powerful root system will take more water from soil. On the another part of the plant, so on the leaf level, we are trying to preserve that hard getting water. Next slide, please. So after all that breeding effort, important is that the farmer adopt a new technology. So that is something very important. If some innovation and research stay in papers or in a publication, it is not good enough. We need to push more efforts to transfer the latest innovation in a practice, because the climate crisis is a really serious thing, and we need very fast. Next slide, please. So this is from my side of view, just a short story about breeding and how breeding can fight with the climate crisis. And after this presentation, I am open for all your questions. Thank you very much. Turn on microphone.
Sorry. A really amazing story about possibilities and of breeding and genetics. It is promising for us and for environment, for planet. But I would like to ask you to tell us something about tools using for purpose you presented here.
Yes, thank you very much for that question. Actually, the breeding tools today are a very exciting one. Can you show us a presentation, please? Okay, today we have very powerful tools that we can use in a breeding. From one side, it is a biotech industry that provide us very cheap information about DNA of our plant material. So from that point of view, we can know genetic structure of our genotypes, of our populations, and more precisely, we can breed it. So what that means? We can develop several mathematical models that can provide us to predict performance of new lines, new genetic lines, based solely on molecular markers or DNA analysis. That is one part of the story. Another part of the story are proximal sensing or remote sensing. That is also high throughput method. We can scan a lot of genotypes in a real environment and to see performances of that genotypes, and then also using advanced mathematical modeling to extract and select the best one. So at the moment, we can say that plant breeding is in front of the big data breeding, and a lot of efforts are put in interpretation of such a large amount of data and how to extract only the best one and to select the best genotype. So that is a new challenge that is a very emerging field in this moment. Is can we use artificial intelligence to develop tools for plant breeding? So that is a really interesting story and interesting things in front of us. So thank you very much.
Thank you, Vuk. Yes, interesting, but not easy to dealing with climate crisis and to put legumes in front of to survival. Yeah, but okay, everything that we heard here is promising, but in the end, I would like to conclude with one key role of legumes. It is contributing well-being, since legumes are rich in essential nutrients such as protein with essential amino acids, dietary fiber, vitamins, minerals, and particularly biomolecules, antioxidants, isoflavones, anthocyanins, etc. That improving overall nutrition and health outcomes. Also, it is well known, but I need to highlight here, legumes are source of plant-based protein, and that making them important component of human diets. With increasing demand for sustainable and plant-based food options, legumes offer environmental friendly alternative to animal protein and very suitable for vegetarians and vegans. But unfortunately, worldwide average of consumption of legumes is 21 and meat 112 grams per person per diet. That is still not balanced, but incorporation of legumes into diet, promoting more balanced and diverse eating patterns, addressing nutrient gaps. Their nutritional richness, sustainable benefits, and also culinary adaptability make them an important part of promoting healthy diets. We promote that cooking pulses, cooking legumes. We promote that regarding through activities of global being, because it is very important by promoting legumes consumption, we can contribute to development of sustainable and climate-smart food system that prioritize both human health and environmental sustainability. We can conclude that to fully exploit climate mitigation potential of legumes, it is essential to promote their cultivation and support farmers in adopting legume-based practices, because this will increase ecosystem resilience and fostering more sustainable and climate-smart food production system. That is something that can fight with climate crisis. Please, next slide. That is from our side. And now floor is yours, floor is to audience. And that discussion will be moderated by Mr. Lavdosh Ferruni.
Well, thank you. Thank you. Thank you, Svetlana. And you mentioned several times the importance of the practice of legumes. And I just want to say that we are just coming from a farm, and sorry for a few minutes, 5 minutes delay because of, unexpected things and many things to be shown in this farm where legumes are always very important. I am talking for the region of Korça in Albania. And together with me is from UK, Adam, my friend here. So we are using this infrastructure for some facilities. Came from Welsh, just to to know this richness of the beans firstly, and legumes in general, and very much to consider and to react, not only to make it known, but also to react for the importance of legumes in terms of climate crisis that we are obliged to use this term right now. So in this context, we believe very much also, besides the pure science, also the citizen science. So, what farmers are saying, how do they feel the climate crisis, how they react, and what's the importance of the legumes in this context. And I would say that, farmers realize, all of them, that climate crisis is evident. So they understand that. So we have just to do the maximum to adapt to climate crisis first. Besides the mitigation, to adapt to that. And I think legumes are very important in this context. And we really have a strong challenge with ourselves. First of all, at least we feel it in our country, we have a lot of biodiversity. And very much diversity of beings, of farmers still in situ practicing. But the speed of disappearing of them is evident because of social factors as well. People are leaving the villages, and so the pressure from the big companies and so on is evident. So it's really very, very important challenge for us, and we are doing that, to go in each farm as much as possible, farmers to visit, to save this farm, these seeds, and also to encourage continuation of these farmers that are still planting this seed, which is definitely genetic resources that should be saved, particularly in the sense of the climate crisis. But I'd go to give the floor to my colleague first, and then open the discussion to the others. Adam Alexander from Welsh is here with me.
Good afternoon, everybody. Thank you for asking me to join this discussion this afternoon. Just following on from what I've been hearing this afternoon, what I'm seeing and why I'm here, and my view looking at the various different aspects of cultivation, particularly of beans, but it's not just about how you grow them or where you grow them, but it's how you win the hearts and minds of the diner to eschew the beef burger for the bean burger, if you like. And so one of the things that I've found very interesting is when I look at food cultures. For example, if you look in Spain at the Spanish food culture, I mean, in Spain, everybody eats beans every day. And it's just a normal part of that Spanish food culture. And it does, when I come from a country where the closest most people get to eating a bean is it comes out of a tin with Heinz on the front of it, or they'll eat Phaseolus coccineus, the runner bean, because we have an obsession for growing long ones. But I am seeing change, and there's very good examples of that. You look like at businesses like Hodmedods in the UK, where they are now working with farmers who are growing a much greater diversity of legumes than ever happened before. For lentils, peas, all sorts of different types of beans. And then I come to a country like Albania, and particularly into the Kocha region, which is, to me, an absolute exemplar of what farmer-led plant breeding is all about. And I think listening to what Vuk Đorđević, excuse my pronunciation, was saying about the work that he is doing in plant breeding, made me think about how important it is that if we're going to really put legumes at front and center of how we provide protein, improve our soils, help support biodiversity, all of these ambitions, then the farmer absolutely has to be front and center of it. And I think it has also to be farmer-led. So I saw that this afternoon, just nearby to where we are now, where the farmers are the custodians of the genetic resource. And because this has been ongoing for generations, what we see is this genetic resource continually evolving to deal with climate change. So it doesn't matter what the season is like, what their summer is like, actually they get crops almost regardless. And so I hope that where we have really interesting research and work being done, genetic work, and I've seen that happening in places like the John Innes Centre in Norwich, in England, looking at the genome of these legumes and sequencing them and really understanding about what it is in the genome that is delivers the particular traits one is looking for. That what needs to happen is this resource needs to be put in the hands of farmers. And in a way, I have a question for Vuk, which is, you do this fantastic, really interesting research. You look at these cultivars, these adaptations, and then what? Do you pass them to the farmer because these particular varieties and new breeds need to be bulked up? They need to be shared. The farmers themselves need to be masters of selection and are continuing, if you like, breeding by effectively creating whole new generations of land races and local adaptations, which is exactly what I see happening here in Albania, which is why it's so exciting.
Thank you, Adam. Maybe you will intervene again, but Marilo has raised her hand. Please, Marilo, can you intervene?
Yeah. Thank you, Adam, for your comment, because it really leads to what I had to say. Basically, we've been trying at my company Xerel to develop in Bulgaria, for example, the crops of legumes, but it's been quite impossible because we do not find a crop that both has a market and also has good results in the fields, and that has been quite a complex situation for us, which is leading to my question, if anyone has any answer, what would be the best compromise in terms of legumes for Eastern Europe countries, for example, where climates are really drastic with we've tried, for example, lupin, and we've seen that in April we've had -14 degrees, which has killed all of it basically. So this climate crisis is a huge problem for us, and right now it feels like we're going somewhere with evolution of genetics, for example, is what Mr. Đorđević told us, but we do not see exactly where to go, for example, to develop legumes, because we do not know which legume adapts the best to both industrial needs and farmers' needs, because I think also both of them need to comply in a way. So I'm just throwing a paper out here to see if someone has any leads on this topic.
Marianne, can I interject just with my immediate response to this? Because I think the challenge that you find that you are faced with is one that is, you are not alone in terms
definitely.
of reconcile these challenges with a changing climate. But, you know, I think about the diversity of beans that have been grown across Central and Eastern Europe for, you know, not just 500 years with the arrival of the New World beans, but for thousands of years before that. And so I'm quite sure that being part of a wider discourse with other centers of excellence who are working on developing traits in locally adapted cultivars that would suit your climate can work. And I'm very happy offline to continue this conversation with some people who I think you might be interested in talking to. But also, I think this has to work at a human level, at a cultural level. You say engaging the public with a crop, with a vegetable they don't particularly want to eat. That's very familiar to us in the UK. And so you have to win the hearts and minds. And that requires working with influencers, with chefs, with making something that is unfamiliar feel exciting and worthwhile eating. So this change does not just happen in the lab or in the field. It happens across the piece. And certainly we're finding in the UK that there are certain, you know, the classic one for us is the baked bean, the archetype in the Heinz tin. And how do we compete with that to actually grow a bean in the UK, which is also very challenging because Physalis vulgaris, very difficult to get it to dry properly with our difficult climate, as I'm sure it is with yours. So we work with the fava bean, with Vichia faba, and people think, oh, this is for the cattle, this is not for us. So one has to then work on deliciousness, if you like, and with people suddenly who the public want to listen to and whose opinion they value. When they start to connect with these new products, then you can start to move public opinion in favor. And then working at a local level with genetic resources, with your institutes, and with farmers, which is what we're doing, particularly in countries like Scotland with fava beans, we can start to produce scale, which is the next thing. So that actually you grow enough of them that you can start to feed into a growing market demand, which we're going to have over the next 10 years or more.
Well, thank you, Adam, again for clarification. I think there is another question. There is another question. Yes.
Thanks, Adam and Lavdosh. There was one more question here, which I think it was a question for Vuk. Someone was asking, what about agri-PV to have a bit of shadow on one hand and have a water hose under the soil with very small holes to produce watering by continuing drops, in addition to selection of the best genotype.
Let me say just, without any going deeper on the question, but it seems fantastic in my view. I don't know what the else are thinking about. I like very much this PV concept and the going together with agriculture. It's really fantastic in my view, because I am very much involved in environmental protection and so on. And so I mean, in order to fight the oil companies that are very aggressive on this climate change issue, we also have to give some alternatives, combine agriculture with energy, with renewable energy and so on. So if there is not any other question, I think somebody from the, yeah, well, please, there are only few minutes, because to say the truth, me and Adam or the others can continue, but we have to go in another farm. So I'm sorry about that,
Yeah.
Because it's from UK. So yeah, so go ahead, please.
Yeah, I just wanted to remark that I think there is really very, very little research and breeding done in certain pulse crops that are very important for human consumption, like beans, like lentils, yeah, also chickpeas. We are experimenting with cowpeas this year in Europe, because a lot of research is done with the legumes that are also produced for for feed stuff, for animal feed. Yeah, and there should be more initiatives pushing breeding and trials, variety trials in the other legume crops as well.
I agree.
Mm-hmm.